ನಮಸ್ತೆ. ನಾನು ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಕಲಾವತಿ ಕಾಮತ್ತ, ಸರ್ಕಾರಿ ಮಹಿಳಾ ಪಾಲಿಟೆಕ್ನಿಕ್ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರಂಥಾಲಯ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ವಿಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಶ್ರೇಣಿ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕಿಯಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ನಾನು ಈಗ ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಪ್ಲೊಮಾ ಇನ್ ಲೈಬ್ರರಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಈ ಕೋರ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ನ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಬ್ರರೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನುವ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ 3ನೇ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಆರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ, ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂತಹ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಟು ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜಸ್ ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಒರಿಜಿನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಗ್ರೋತ್ ದೇವನಾಗರಿ, ಈ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ಕಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಒರಿಜಿನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್. There are at present in India 3 schools of languages, the Munda, the Dravidian and the Aryan. The Munda language had once swept the entire country, spreading as far as Malaya, Indochina, and then on to the Australia subcontinent. Of course, when this happened, the configuration of a land and a sea was much different. But today the Munda language is represented by only a few tribes in the Chotanagpur area. Grierson has given us a fairly comprehensive survey of this school of language. The Dravidian tongue comprises the modern Tamil, Telugu, Canarese and Malayalam. There are also some other languages in southern India like Tulu and Kurgi, which do not have any script or any great history, but represent a living dialect born most probably out of the influence of the Dravidian tongues on indigenous speech. Of the South Indian languages, Tamil is the oldest and is coeval with the, if not older than, the Aryan languages. But the influence of the Aryan languages on the Dravidian tongue has been profound, and many of the religious classics of the North, like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, have found triumphant expression in South Indian languages. Not only have these languages been ideologically influenced, but the history of their scripts also reveals the Aryan influence. In modern times, there has been a self-conscious movement away from the Aryan influence, resulting in the aggressively artificial language consisting of the so-called pure Dravidian words. The language of the north comprises Maharathi, Gujarati, and Rajasthani in the west, Hindi in the middle, and Oriya, Bengali, and Assamese in the east. There is also the very active Urdu language, which is the true native of the soil and born out of the long historic connection this country had with its Muslim rulers. Urdu has its Semitic script, but its language has assimilated quite a large number of Aryan words and expressions. It has been said that Khari Boli round about Delhi was the protoplasm of the Urdu language. All the modern Indian languages attained simultaneous development in their various areas from Prakrit, which was the present of them all. Prakrit was originally the spoken tongue of the people as contrasted with the Sanskrit, which was the specialized tongue of the priestly and the erudite classes. Both Sanskrit and Prakrit existed side by side like the Umbra and the penumbra of the shadow. Prakrit developed in a comparative isolation divided from the sister communities by desert, river, or mountain into modern Indian languages. Sanskrit was the most influential tongue for a long time because it was adopted by the most intellectual section of the country. When this section of the community fell from grace and turned the sacred responsibilities into grasping privileges, there was a rebellion in men's mind, and a new prophet arose speaking the tongue of the people and challenging the old values. Such is the history of Pali, the language of the gospel of Buddha, which again in a course of time established itself into another orthodoxy. Thus, we see that the Vedic plants were no patrons or sons of a primitive people, nor was Sanskrit the parent of modern Indian languages. The Vedic plasma forms were written in a highly developed tongue in which there were a number of dialects, one of which on account of political and other reasons attained greater importance in a course of time and formed the basic of literature of the time. The general wrong conception that Sanskrit is the mother of modern Indian languages is probably due to the predominance of too many almost innumerable Sanskrit words which have entered into each of them through the ages. Classical Sanskrit had never been the spoken tongue of the common people. It was merely the language of literature and learning and the lingua franca of religion throughout the Indian subcontinent, just as Latin was in medieval Europe and alienated as it was from the masses, it turned to be a dead language even before the advent of Buddha. Pali likewise also grew sacred, chaste, and artificial in the course of time and become to Buddhism what Latin was to the Roman Catholic Church. It was the spoken Prakrit, the language of the masses, which since the beginning of the Vedic era had undergone changes through popular mode of expression in different regions of the country and finally assumed the forms of most of the modern Indian languages. Modern Indian language scripts. The story of the development of the modern Indian language scripts is at once intricate and interesting. From the Buddhist work Lalita Vistara, we come to learn of the presence of 64 scripts in ancient India, particularly in Buddha's time of which a few names like Brahmana, the Kharosti, the Yavanaliya, the Dravidian, the Nagalipi, the Bangalipi, the Angalipi, etc., are quite familiar to us. We can, for example, identify a Yavanaliya with the Greek script, the Dravidi with the prototype of Tamil script, the Bangalipi with the Proto-Bengali characters, the Angalipi with the script prevalent in Anga, that is in the northeast Bihar, and so on. Even in the Jaina sutras of the later period, we come across Such a script names as Bambi, Javanali, Karosti, Damili, etc., which are also do not defy recognition. All these names clearly suggest that side by side with the Brahmi, which was the principal script of India, there had been also some provincial or regional scripts, some of which were either varieties of Brahmi or derived from its prototype, and some were quite independent of it. Brahmi, it seems, is the ancestor of the most of the scripts of northern India. The medieval and modern script is northern India arose from the early scripts, particularly from the prototypes of Brahmi and their cursive varieties in different periods, ranging from the 4th century AD to the 5th. The political and cultural influence of imperial Guptas exercised over their far-flung empire helped the Gupta script spread over the whole of northern India, which in turn resulted in the evolution of a great majority of Indian scripts, not only in India but also in such places as Kucha and Khothan in eastern Turkestan. Tibetan alphabet. The influence of the Gupta character upon the Tibetan alphabet was also by no means insignificant, for even if it was not led upon the Gupta character, but derived from the Kothanis, as some scholars suggest, it was still Indian in origin because the Kothanis alphabet itself was an Indian alphabet. Devanagari script, the most important of all Indian scripts in the Ganges Valley in the Devanagari, which probably developed from Siddha Mantrika or acute angels alphabet widely current in the region around Kannauj and Varanasi and even in Kashmir during the 6th and 7th centuries AD. It is, of course, difficult to say whether the term Nagari has any relation to Nagalipi as mentioned in the Lalita Vistara, Lalita Vistara, or it simply refers to Nagara, that is, cities where the script was used. Its other name, Devanagari, according to others, is due to the fact that it was used by Devas, that is, gods and Brahmanas. At any rate, the meaning of the term is still uncertain and indefinite. The development of the Nagari script was rather slow and it took nearly 400 years to attain maturity. It first appeared in the 7th century AD, and by the 11th century, it became the most predominant vehicle of expression in northern India. The Devanagari script consists of 48 signs of which 14 are vowels and diphthongs and 34 are basic consonants known as aksharas. When the ancient Brahmin scholars and literacy men felt the need of writing, they naturally adopted the most sacred characters ready at hand, namely the Devanagari as the vehicle of Sanskrit, which had been for long the exclusive literary language of India. Devanagari script is also the vehicle of Hindi, which is spoken by the entire population in a vast area lying between the Himalayas in the north and the river Narmada in the south. Hindustani, a variety of Hindi with an admixture of Persian and Arabic words was carried over the whole of northern India by the Muslim rulers at the end of the 12th century, and this is written by the Hindus in Devanagari character and by the Muslims in Persian Arabic alphabet. Hindi or Hindustani is unquestionably the truly national speech for all India. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. ಇನ್ನು ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಾದ್ರೆ ಇದೇ ಒಂದು ವಿಡಿಯೋದ ಕೊನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ನೀವು ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ಅದರಿಂದ ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದು. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.